The application called Error Log is an essential tool to improve performance when solving exercises on the exam. To reduce the probability of making mistakes, we must be aware of the type of errors we tend to make, and therefore we can realize when we are running the risk of making those kinds of errors and be much more careful at those times. The best way to recognize, keep track of, and learn not to make our most common mistakes is to keep a record of these mistakes. TLA provides standardized templates to build a record of the most typical errors that we can make in the different types of exercises that appear in the 3 sections of the exam. If used properly, you can have the opportunity to identify a statistical trend in the errors that we most frequently make and thus avoid them. A periodic analysis of these several logs allows us to significantly improve our performance on the exam. Let us now take a closer look at the Exam Error Logs workbook and how to use it in practice. Inside this file, you will find separate error logs for the different parts of the exam. One for quantitative reasoning, one for verbal critical reasoning, one for verbal reading comprehension, and a set of logs for the 5 types of data insights questions. Although the content of each section of the exam is different, the structure and the logic of these logs are always the same. For each of these parts, you will see 3 Excel sheets. The first sheet is the actual error log, where you enter your data. Here, each row corresponds to a single question that you have answered incorrectly, or that you answered correctly but with serious doubts or very poor time management. For every question you decide to log, you should first record a basic reference, where the question comes from, such as the official guide or a practice test. Next, the template provides a series of columns that represent different types of mistakes. These may include, for example, not really understanding the concept being tested, understanding the concept but failing to apply it correctly, choosing an inefficient strategy, misreading or misinterpreting the question, making a careless arithmetic mistake, falling for a trap answer, or spending too much time on the question. For each question you log, you simply tick all the boxes that describe what went wrong in that particular case. The second sheet is the Pareto graph associated with that error log. As you continue to practice and consistently update the first sheet, the spreadsheet automatically counts how many times each type of error appears and calculates the proportion of questions affected by each category. On the graph sheet, these proportions are displayed in a Pareto-style chart, so you can immediately see which types of mistakes are the most frequent for you in that specific part of the exam. This visual summary makes it much easier to decide what you should prioritize in your study plan. The third sheet is an optional printable version of the error log. It is designed to be printed and used if you prefer to take notes by hand while you are working on paper. You can keep this sheet next to you as you do exercises, quickly write down the question reference and the type of error, and then, later on, transfer all that information into the digital error log in Excel. This is especially useful if you like to study away from your computer or if you prefer to keep your focus on the questions during a timed practice set. The idea is that you do not fill in the error log while you are solving each question one by one, but rather after you have completed a set of exercises and checked the answers. At that moment, you take a few minutes to analyze the questions you got wrong or were unsure about, identify the reasons, and update the corresponding log. If you repeat this process regularly for quant, verbal, and data insights, you will quickly start to see clear patterns in your errors in each area. Finally, the real value of these error logs comes from periodically reviewing those patterns and adjusting your preparation. If you notice that many of your mistakes in quantitative reasoning are conceptual, you may need to spend more time revising theory and foundational exercises. If most of your verbal errors are due to misreading the argument or the passage, you may need to slow down and work on active reading strategies. If your main problems in data insights are related to timing, you may need more practice with timed sets and more efficient strategies to interpret charts and tables. In this way, the error logs become not just a record of past mistakes, but a practical guide to decide what to focus on in order to maximize your score on the exam.